In the previous class, we have studied about the mercantilism, origin of the EEIC, early years of the EEIC, and also about the English East India Company's European rivals, that is, about the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the French, and what is the struggle for power because of the European rivals. Okay. In today's class, we are going to study about the colonization of the Indian subcontinent. Colonization of the Indian subcontinent. The rulers of the independent kingdoms that emerged after the fall of the Mughal Empire wanted to promote their own interest. They gradually isolated themselves from one another. These conflicts encouraged the external forces to take advantage of the situation and establish their rule in India. How the EEIC achieved this end, just let us see. In 1756, Ali Bardi Khan, who was the Nawab of Bengal, he was succeeded by his maternal grandson Sirajud-Dowla. Okay, he tried to check the EEIC's bid to extend the fortifications of Calcutta and get the treasures the company had accumulated from the Bengal at Dhaka. Besides, he refused to give more trade concessions and privileges to the EEIC. So the company started conspiring with the rivals of Sirajud-Dowla to overthrow him. When Sirajud-Dowla learned about it, he marched with his soldiers to the EEIC's Kasim Bazar factory and captured it. He also captured the EEIC's Calcutta headquarters and compelled the officials to surrender. In this, we are going to study about Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, Anglo-Mysore War, Anglo-Maratha War, Afghan War, and Anglo-Sikh War. Battle of Plassey. When the news of the English defeat reached Madras, Robert Clive was dispatched with a strong troop, or you can say strong army, to recapture Calcutta. The British forces under Clive, they recaptured Calcutta, conspiring with Mir Jafar, who was the commander-in-chief of Sirajud-Dowla. Britishers also managed to win over other important members of Sirajud-Dowla's court, such as Jagat Seth, who was a banker, and Omi Chand, who was a rich merchant. With the help of their support, the British forces defeated the forces of Sirajud-Dowla in the Battle of Plassey in 1757. After this victory, now the English East India Company became the real power in Bengal. Mir Jafar became the puppet Nawab of Bengal. The English East India Company officials and their Indian agents forced the peasants and craft persons to sell their goods at very low price, and thus they made huge profit. Soon the company deposed Mir Jafar as Nawab and installed his son-in-law Mir Qasim in his place. Following their victory in the Battle of Plassey, the English East India Company official amassed huge wealth and began to copy the lavish lifestyles of Indian potentates. In England, they were mockingly referred to as nabobs. Battle of Buxar. Mir Qasim, the new Nawab of Bengal, also tried to free himself from the company's yoke. Some of the steps he took were as follows. The first step was dismissal of all of Mir Jafar's officials who were close to the English East India Company. The second step was inviting European mercenaries to train his soldiers in the new method of warfare. The third step he taken was abolition of taxes on internal trade that would be against the interests of the British. The fourth step he did was checking the misuse of trade privileges enjoyed by the British. Because of these policies of Mir Qasim, it angered the English East India Company officials and they decided to settle scores with the Nawab. In the Battle of Buxar, fought in 1764, the combined forces of Mir Qasim and his allies, Nawab of Awadh, Shujaud-Dowla, and the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, were defeated by the forces of EEIC. This victory made the English East India Company the real master of Bengal. After the battle, Shujaud-Dowla and Shah Alam II signed two treaties at Prayagraj with Clive, who was the governor of the company. The Mughal emperor granted the Diwani, that is the right to collect revenue from Bengal, Bihar and Orissa, to the company. In return, he was given an annual tribute of rupees 26 lakhs. The Nawab of Awadh had to pay an indemnity of rupees 50 lakhs. In lieu of this, his kingdom was restored to him as a British protectorate. The grant of Diwani enabled the English East India Company to use the vast revenue resources of Bengal to purchase cotton and silk textiles in India and maintain the company's troops and build forts, factories, and offices. Mysore. The expansion of Mysore under Hyder Ali alarmed the officials of the English East India Company. It led to a series of wars between the English East India Company and the rulers of Mysore, Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan. First Anglo-Mysore War. It held in between 1767 to 69. Suspicious of the rising powers of Hyder Ali, the Nizam of Hyderabad formed a coalition with the British and attacked Mysore. Hyder Ali defeated them and forced the British to sign a treaty by which they agreed to help each other in case of attack by a third party. The Second Anglo-Mysore War occurred in between 1771 to 84. In 1771, when the Marathas attacked Hyder Ali, the British did not come to his help. Hyder Ali died during this war. His son Tipu continued the war, which finally came to an end in 1784 with the signing of the Treaty of Mangalore. The Third Anglo-Mysore War, that is in between 1785 to 94, under Tipu Sultan, Mysore controlled the lucrative trade carried out from the Malabar coast. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of some of the most profitable items of trade such as sandalwood, pepper, and cardamom from the ports of his kingdom and disallowed local merchants any trade with the company. Tipu also established a close relationship with the French, with whose help he modernized his army. All these angered the British. In the Third Anglo-Mysore War, Tipu was defeated. Under the Treaty of Seringapatnam, he had to give away a large part of his kingdom, Coorg, Malabar, Dandigul, to the British. He also had to pay a huge fine and send two of his sons as hostages to the British. Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, 1798 to 99. Lord Wellesley, the British Governor General, wanted Tipu to accept the subsidiary alliance. When Tipu refused, the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War started in 1798. Tipu died fighting. The British annexed a large portion of his conquest and gave them to the Nizam of Hyderabad for his help. Rest of the kingdom was placed under the heir of the erstwhile ruling family, the Wadairs, who accepted the subsidiary alliance. Marathas. About a decade after the defeat of the Marathas in the Third Battle of Panipat, an intense power struggle began among the five Maratha chiefs, the Peshwa, the Gaikwad, the Holkars, the Bhosles, and the Sindhis. The British took advantage of this and interfered in their internal affair, which led to four Anglo-Maratha wars. First Anglo-Maratha War. This war broke out over the question of the succession to the throne of the Peshwa. The Maratha chiefs come together and defeated the British. Soon Warren Hastings sent an army from Calcutta to help the British forces. Finally, the Treaty of Salbai was signed, by which the British recognized Madhav Rao II as the Peshwa. The Second Anglo-Maratha War. The Maratha chiefs Scindia and Bhosle refused to accept the subsidiary alliance and declared war on the British in 1803. But they were defeated and had to cede the territories of Ahmednagar and Broach to the British. Third Anglo-Maratha War. This war broke out when the Maratha chief Holkar refused to accept the subsidiary alliance. The war was rather inclusive and peace was signed with the Holkars. Fourth Anglo-Maratha War. This war broke out in 1817 when Peshwa Bajirao II attacked the British Residency. In return, the British defeated the Marathas. The title of Peshwa was withdrawn with his territories annexed to the British Empire. So these are the series of the Anglo-Maratha War, which is fought in between Marathas and British. Sindh and Afghanistan. The EEIC wanted to annex Afghanistan, however, it could not be possible without conquering Sindh. In 1809, a treaty was signed with the Amirs that is, rulers of Sindh. As per this treaty, the Amirs promised not to let the French pass through their territories, and the British promised not to transport arms through Sindh. In 1839, the English East India Company violated the terms of this treaty during the First Afghan War when they carried their armed forces to Afghanistan via Sindh. However, instead of admitting this, the EEIC officials accused the Amirs of plotting against the British. Sindh was finally attached and annexed by Charles Napier in 1843. In the late 1830s and early 1840s, the EEIC fought a long war with Afghanistan and eventually established indirect company rule there. Punjab. After the death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in 1839, Punjab experienced a period of instability. Finally, his youngest son, Dalip Singh, was placed on the throne, and the Queen Mother Rani Jindan was made the regent in 1843. The First Anglo-Sikh War broke out when the Sikh army tried to cross the Satluj and occupy Lahore. The British defeated the Sikhs, and the Treaty of Lahore was signed. It recognized Dalip Singh as the ruler and his mother as regent. The Sikhs had to pay a huge war indemnity and also give away parts of their territories to the British. Soon the British accused Rani Jindan of anti-British activities and removed her from power. This led to widespread revolt throughout Punjab. In the Second Anglo-Sikh War that ensued, the Sikhs were defeated and the British annexed the state of Punjab in 1849. That's it for today's class. Thank you.